explore life through the works of Chinese writer Xuemo. Whether you are joining from America, Europe, Asia, or anywhere else in the world, thank you for being here today. On this channel, we are not only talking about books, we are talking about consciousness, human nature, inner freedom, suffering, compassion, love, loneliness, and the deeper meaning behind everyday life. Today's sharing is inspired by the works of Chinese author Xuemo. And Xuemo is one of the most influential contemporary Chinese writers exploring spirituality, culture, and the human mind. His books have been translated into more than 28 languages and published around the world. Many international readers discover in his writing not religion but clarity, not preaching but direct insight into life. His writing often speaks about how human beings suffer because they lose connection with their true heart. And through awareness, reflection, compassion, and inner practice, people can slowly rediscover their original wisdom. Some people come to Xuemo's books through literature, some come through philosophy, some become because life too noisy, too fast, and too empty. And somewhere along the way, they begin searching for something more real. Xuemo's work include novels, cultural studies, spiritual reflections, and interpretations of ancient wisdom, such as Lao Tzu and the Tao Te Ching. Some readers love his literary works like Wild Fox Ridge, Desert Rides, Desert Hunters, and White Tag Pass. Others are deeply touched by books such as The World is a Reflection of the Mind and Reclaim the Throne of Your Heart. These books are not trying to give you a ready-made answer. They invite you to observe yourself more honestly, to see how fear is created, how attachment controls us, how desire exhausts us, and how awareness can slowly return us to peace. In today's world, many people are surrounded by information every single day, yet still feel deeply disconnected inside. That is why deep reading still matters, and a real book can slow down the mind. A real sentence can change the direction of a life. So during this live stream, we will read together, reflect together, and maybe rediscover something we already knew deep inside but had forgotten. So if you're new here, welcome. And if you have been joining these live streams for a long time, welcome back. And you can explore more of Xuemo's works through Amazon and our official global online shop, shop.xuemo.com. So now let's get into Xuemo's works. The first book I will introduce is, as always, The Desert Rides. Desert Rides, the breakthrough work of Xuemo, is widely regarded as one of the most compelling rural novels in Chinese literature. The central theme of Desert Rides is to confront existence and pursue self-redemption with a deep sense of existential awareness and the courage to face the realities of life. Desert Rides reveals the tragic and profound drama of modern civilization unfolding between nature and humanity. The desert relentlessly devours villages. Humans and wolves confront each other in a struggle for survival, and people fight one another for the most basic resource, water. Through meticulous and vivid descriptions of the Western regions, Xuemo begins with the fragile and often violent relationship between humans and nature in this harsh landscape, and arrives at a deep reflection on one of humanity's fundamental questions, the relationship between humankind and the natural world. This is a passionate, deeply authentic, and profoundly moving portrayal of rural life in Western China. The story took 12 years to complete. Over those 12 years, Xuemo poured his heart into the work, enduring immense hardship, writing through tears and relentless devotion. Even before its publication, those who had the chance to read the manuscript were deeply shaken. They felt sorrow and compassion for the lives of farmers in the Chengge Desert region, and were moved to tears and reflection by the cycles of struggle, survival, and death experienced by the people there. At the center of the story is Lao Shen's family. For survival, for the burden of inherited poverty, for fragile and insufficient love, and for the faint hope that persists under crushing hardship, they live through one unforgettable scene after another of separation, loss, and human endurance. At the same time, the novel's vivid desert landscapes, the unique customs of the Western regions, the weight of its rural survival realities, and the tangled emotions between life and death give the work a quality both wild and profound, like a primordial forest, mysterious and heavy with meaning. A work of this kind is exceedingly rare in today's literary world. Set against the vast expanse of the Chengge Desert, the novel portrays people who struggle to survive deep within its interior. These characters are ordinary farmers, far removed from modern civilization, yet remarkably resilient. Through an artistic and symbolic narrative construction, the author builds within the immense and majestic desert a fortress of survival, one that embodies both the harshness of existence and the enduring strength of the human spirit. Desert Rite is a full-length novel by Xuemo. Set against the backdrop of her career, the novel portrays the harsh reality of life among Western Chinese farmers, represented by the family of Lao Shen. It vividly depicts both their material poverty and spiritual barrenness, while also revealing their courageous struggle against fate and their relentless pursuit of a better life. Centered on Lao Shen's family in Shawen village, the novel offers a comprehensive picture of the generational hardships endured by rural communities in Western China. The six members of the family survive by farming a few thin plots of land on the edge of the desert, where the harsh environment barely allows them to sustain basic substance, burdened by heavy taxes and fines. Lao Shen's son, Hantou, cannot afford to marry. As a result, the family is forced into a traditional exchange marriage, trading their daughter Lan Lan to another family so that Hantou can take a wife. Meanwhile, the second son Wen faces mounting pressure to marry, and the third son, Ling Guan, after failing to enter university despite completing high school, reluctantly returns to farming. Hi, unknown title. Hello, welcome. If you are new here, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you for your support. Thank you. And if you have anything you want to talk about, you can leave your message. If you have any question about Xuemo's works, you can also yes, leave the message here. In desperation, Lao Shun seeks help from Master Meng Ba, arranging for Ling Guan to learn hunting as a way to support the family. However, Ling Guan's education has made him realize that hunting is merely another dead end for peasants. He understands that as the desert encroaches upon their homeland, even farming will soon become unsustainable, and wildlife in the desert will eventually disappear. Thus, he treats the hunting lessons perfunctorily. Only after venturing deep desert right does Ling Guan truly grasp the brutal reality faced by hunters and herders. Wells have run dry, herders are driven to the brink and attacked by wolves and other predators, and people turn against one another for meager gains. Back home, misfortune continues to unfold. A plague of rats devastates the household. Lan Lan, after her exchange marriage, suffers cruel abuse at the hands of her husband. Even worse, her young daughter is sent into the freezing desert by her ignorant and violent father. Where she dies, Lao Sheng himself is a broken man, his spirit crushed by poverty. His wife, in despair, places her faith only in superstitious rituals. Under the crushing weight of survival, the family struggles on, helpless yet enduring. Ling Guan returns to the countryside only because he cannot find a future in the city. His sister-in-law, Ying Er, offers him moments of comfort, but when Hantou falls ill, Ling Guan witnesses firsthand the devastating impact of disease on impoverished farmers. After Hantou's death, Ling Guan leaves the village like a desperate wolf, disappearing into the unknown. Yet his parents, his brother Menzi and Ying Er remain trapped in an endless cycle of hardship. This is the stark reality of life for Western Chinese farmers. Desert Right presents a raw and a truthful depiction of what lies behind the myth of the West, revealing not romance, but survival, suffering, and the unyielding human will to endure. The works of Xuemo have gained widespread popularity among international readers due to their profound grounding in rural China, their vivid and mystical portrayal of Western Chinese culture, their deep spiritual and faith-oriented dimensions, and their unique exploration of fundamental human questions: existence, human nature, the soul, life, and eternity. These readers are not only overseas Chinese, in fact, many come from their own local cultural backgrounds, whether in Chinese, English, or other translated editions. Xuemo's works have been warmly received by international publishers and embraced by readers around the world. Much like readers in China, once international readers encounter one of his books, they are often drawn to explore more of his works. To better serve his growing global audience, we have opened the window through Amazon, making it possible for Xuemo readers everywhere to access and purchase his books anytime. from anywhere in the world. So that's the rights available on Amazon. Yes, you can either search for Desert Rights, the book title, or you can search for the writer's name, Xuemo, Xuemo. Sorry, that's right. Hello, if you're new here, please subscribe to our channel. And if you have any questions about Xuemo's works, you can also leave the message. Just now, I introduced the book Desert Rights. Yes, actually, we can share a little paragraph from the book. Share a little paragraph from the book Desert Rights. Lao Sheng was puffing furiously, trying hard to keep the sound down. We don't really mind spending the money, his wife made clear. As long as we are around, there will be money. Her strange effort to show she was taking it well told Lin Guan that she did mind spending money. Han Tou, who seemed to sense the same implication, dropped his head even lower. It's not a big problem, Lin Guan maintained. Just a liver parasites. They can be removed with a scalpel. It's a terrible disease. Lao Shen blew out a small grin. I've heard they will come back if they are not completely removed. That means it's really serious. The mother cried out in alarm. Why wouldn't they remove it completely? Something like that, as long as there's no puncture. Lin Guan tried to assure her. Forget it. No surgery for me. Han Tou finally spoke up after hemming and hawking. Worst case, I die. I am not afraid. Would you stop saying things like that, my dear ancestor? Their mother said. Do you think it was easy to raise you to adulthood? His face reddening. Han Tou sputtered. They don't do a clean job. It would be worse than death. So a little paragraph picking from the Desert Rights, if you are interested in novels and the lives in Western China, you can get one copy of the Desert Rights. Yes. Okay, about Desert Rights, it is a journey of struggle, survival, and perseverance for farmers in rural China. Set in China's Hershey crater, Desert Rights portrays the daily struggles of Lao Shen's family, offering an authentic glimpse into rural life in the 1980s and 1990s. Through vivid desert landscapes and a gripping emotional narrative, it explores themes of survival, humanity, love, and faith. Okay, that's the right again. And if you are new here, please subscribe to our channel. It is not only just a novel, but you can find the inner strength after reading the story. Yes, and Xuemo was born in 1963 and was also known as Chen Taihong. Is a renowned author from Gansu, China. Gansu located in western China, and he has written over 80 titles and have been translated into 28 languages, including English, French, German, Spain, Russian, Korean. And Xuemo's novel Into the Desert won the 2024 NYC Big Book Award in the female fiction category and the 2024 Independent Press Award in the literary fiction category. His novel Curses of the Kingdom of Xixia won the 2024 NYC Big Book Award for the World Literature. The novel Wild Fox Rage won the 2024 International Impact Book Award. He had been nominated 3 times for the Modern Literature Prize and has won the Dunhuang Literature and Art Award 6 consecutive times. So that's right. And if you are interested in any of Xuemo's works, let me know, so I will introduce for you. Okay, the next book I'd like to introduce is Eternal Love. Eternal Love is a book centered. Eternal Love. It is a book centered on human compassion and spiritual care. It tells the story of a young woman who develops cancer and falls into deep despair. And this is a real story. And the relationship that unfolds between her and her teacher. The book is written in the form of letters. Through these letters, the girl expresses her fear, pain, anxiety, and hopelessness. In response, the teacher in the book begins a journey of wise guidance, a process of redemption through love and wisdom. At its heart, it is a story about how a human being can be accompanied, understood, and gradually rescued when facing extreme suffering. At first glance, Eternal Love appears to be a conversation between the author and a young woman trapped in suffering. But beneath that dialogue lies a much deeper intention. This is a book written for anyone who has ever felt powerless inside pain, whether woman or man, young or old, anyone who has ever searched for a way to survive inwardly when life becomes unbearable. Because there are moments in life when suffering isolates us, even though we live among others, pain often creates an invisible island. Illness, loss, despair, fear, emotional collapse. These experiences can make a person feel unreachable, as if no one can truly enter the space they are trapped in, and often others cannot. Even those who care deeply may not know how to step inside another person's darkness. Sometimes people avoid difficult conversations. Sometimes they avoid naming pain itself, especially when facing serious illness or emotional despair. Words from outside often lose their power. This is why true healing must begin from within. In Eternal Love, the figure of Xuemo is not simply the author speaking to another person. More deeply, he represents the voice of wisdom already hidden inside every human being, the quiet inner force that waits to awaken when everything external begins to fail. Let me adjust the screen so this looks better. So the book will show So actually in modern life, people often spend years searching outside themselves for security, recognition, love, success, or meaning. Me too, for many years. I'm searching for so many things from the outside world, from the external world. We believe that if one more goal is achieved, if one more relationship becomes perfect, if one more dream comes true, then the emptiness inside will finally disappear. But very often, life eventually brings us to a moment where all external structures begin to shake. Relationships change, success loses its excitement, and possessions no longer satisfy the heart. Is it true? If you have any feeling about our topic, you can leave your message. So relationships change, and the success, the outward success loses its excitement. Possessions no longer satisfy the heart. And so people begin asking deeper questions. Who am I beneath all these identities? What remains when everything temporary disappears? Why do human beings keep suffering even after getting what they once desired? So why do human beings keep suffering even after getting what they once desired? And this is where the voice of Xuemo becomes important. He does not speak like a preacher standing above others. He speaks more like the deepest part of ourselves that we usually ignore. A quiet awareness, a wisdom older than emotion and fear. A presence that reminds us that beneath confusion, beneath pain, beneath all the noise of the world, there is still something pure that has never been damaged. That is why many readers feel that eternal love is not merely a love story between two people. It is also a dialogue between the human soul and its forgotten wisdom. And perhaps this is why the book touches people from different countries, cultures, and backgrounds. Because beneath language and culture, human beings are all searching for the same thing, a love that does not disappear, a truth deeper than fair, and a way to return to the original clarity of the heart. That's why Xuemo's work means so much to the modern world. And it is not about country, but the whole human being, the human concerns. So in Eternal Love, the figure of Xuemo is not simply the author speaking to another person. More deeply, he represents a voice of wisdom already hidden inside every human being, the quiet inner force that waits to awaken when everything external begins to fail. The dialogue in the book is therefore not only between two people, it is a dialogue between the wounded self and the deeper self, between fear and awareness, between despair and the possibility of inner light. The central message of eternal love is simple but profound. There are moments when no one can save you from outside. And in those moments, you must learn how to light your own lamp. Sounds wrong to accompany them. That is why Xuemo wrote Eternal Love as a form of companionship for those who feel alone. So Eternal Love, a testament to faith, hope, and redemption. Eternal Love is a deeply moving novel about end-of-life companionship. Through 34 dialogues, letters exchanged, it recreates the heartfelt dialogues between a tongue cancer patient, Yato, and her mentor, Guru Xue. In the form of letters and a diary, she confides in him, revealing her struggles and moments of awakening as she faced the greatest challenge of her life. Under Guru Xue's compassionate care and spiritual guidance, she courageously confronts her illness, refuses to surrender to fear and despair, and ultimately finds self-redemption. Hi, if you're new here, please subscribe to our channel. Here we are mainly about the spiritual wisdom and the human warmth found in the works by the Chinese writer Mr. Xuemo. So, welcome. Here we mainly talk about the literature, inner peace, self-growth. So it's not a channel for entertainment, but a space for self-growth. So I will talk about the destiny or the fate. It is based on what Xuemo says, what Xuemo writes in his books. So what shapes a person's destiny is ultimately the choices they make. Do you agree? What shapes a person's destiny is ultimately the choices they make, the actions they take, and the consequences that follow those actions. Whether those consequences are good or bad, at the deepest level, they are all reflections of that person's inner world. Two people can experience the same environment, the same difficulty, or even the same opportunity, yet walk toward completely different futures. What creates the difference is often the invisible world inside them. The way a person thinks shapes the way they perceive reality. The way they perceive reality shapes the choices they make, and repeated choices slowly become destiny. Many people believe destiny is something fixed outside themselves, but very often destiny is continuously being created through daily thoughts, emotions, habits, reactions, and actions. An angry person often creates a world filled with conflict. A fearful person may unknowingly make choices that strengthen fear. A compassionate person, even in hardship, may gradually attract trust, warmth, and deeper connections. So, in that sense, the outer world often becomes a mirror reflecting the inner state of a human being. But this idea should not be misunderstood as blame or simplistic judgment. Human life is complex. People are shaped by family, society, trauma, culture, history, and countless conditions beyond their control. So understanding destiny is not about blaming people for suffering. It is about recognizing that within all conditions, human beings still possess the power to respond consciously. And that inner freedom is extremely important because once the person becomes aware of their inner patterns, they no longer need to repeat them unconsciously forever. At that moment, destiny can begin to change, not necessarily through dramatic miracles. Sometimes destiny changes quietly, one clearer thought, one less selfish action, one moment of honesty instead of avoidance, one decision made from awareness instead of fear. Little by little, a completely different life begins to emerge. For example, if someone does not truly value health, then at certain moments of desire or impulse, they may indulge themselves without restraint. Over time, this may develop into harmful habits such as smoking, drinking, or staying up late night after night. If a person is deeply selfish, then what matters most to them will naturally be personal gain and loss. Their decisions and actions will first protect their own interests. That may lead them to tell lies or even to do things that damage the interests of others. And this is exactly how inner values slowly become visible for destiny in real life. At first, many choices seem very small. One cigarette, one sleepless night, one selfish decision, one lie told for convenience. None, none of these seem powerful enough to shape an entire life. But human destiny is often built not through one dramatic moment, but through thousands of repeated choices. If a person does not truly value health, then pleasure in the present moment will naturally become more important than long-term well-being. Little by little, temporary indulgence becomes habit, and habit eventually becomes part of the body, the mind, and daily life itself. The same is true morally and emotionally. So if someone places the self above everything else, then naturally their decisions will revolve around personal advantage. At first, the compromises may seem minor, a small deception, a hidden selfish intention, a choice made at another person's expense. But every repeated action strengthens a certain inner pattern. Eventually, the person may no longer even notice it. The mind begins adapting itself to selfishness as something normal. And once a person constantly treats others as tools, competition, or obstacles, relationships naturally begin losing trust and sincerity. So, in many cases, consequences are not punishment from outside. They are simply the natural unfolding of a person's inner world. A mind filled with greed creates exhaustion. A mind ruled by fear creates anxiety. A dishonest mind gradually loses peace. And a compassionate, disciplined, sincere mind often creates a very different life atmosphere. That this is why true cultivation is not merely about outward behavior. It is about transforming the inner source from which behavior arises. Because when the inner values truly change, choices naturally change. And when choices change consistently over time, destiny changes with them, right? So the word consistently is very important. And every action influences how others see them, how others respond to them, and eventually what kinds of opportunities opportunities or difficulties come into their life. All of these together gradually form what we call destiny. If a person is deeply selfish, however, then what matters most is the work itself, the value of the task, and the well-being of others. Their actions are directed toward doing what is in front of them well and towards serving others sincerely. Even if their ability is limited, even if they cannot achieve perfection, their attitude itself will naturally earn trust. So every action slowly shapes the invisible relationship between a person and the world around them. The way people speak, the way they handle responsibility, the way they treat others during difficulty, all of these leave traces. Others may not remember every detail consciously, but human beings can feel sincerity, selfishness, honesty, or manipulation very deeply. Over time, these impressions influence how others respond to that person. Trust begins to gather around some people naturally, while around others, people slowly become cautious and guarded. This is why destiny is not only about sudden luck or external opportunity. Very often, people are unconsciously creating the conscious conditions of their future through the quality of their present actions. So, very often, people are unconsciously creating the conditions of their future through the quality of their present actions. If someone is deeply selfish, then naturally everything becomes centered around personal gain and emotional satisfaction. But when a person genuinely cares about the work itself, the value of the task, and the well-being of others, a completely different energy appears. Their attention is no longer consumed only by what can I get. Instead, it begins asking, how can this be done well? How can this help others? How can I become more responsible, more sincere, and more useful? At that point, work is no longer merely a tool for self-interest. It becomes part of a person's cultivation and contribution to the world. And interestingly, people who are less obsessed with personal gain often end up gaining deeper trust and longer lasting opportunities, not because they are trying to manipulate others into trusting them, but because sincerity itself has power. Even if their abilities are limited, even if they are imperfect, people can still feel their intention. And in human relationships, sincerity often travels farther than talent alone. A person who sincerely carries responsibility may gradually receive more support, more patience, and more meaningful connections. This too becomes part of destiny. So in the end, destiny is not something completely mysterious. It is often the long-term accumulation of thoughts, values, actions, relationships, and inner orientation. And behind all of that lies one deep question. What kind of person are we becoming through the way we live each day? Xuemo often says that he grew up in the countryside without social background and without strong financial support. He experienced many hardships, setbacks, and even things that many people would call misfortune. But none of those even shook his dream or his pursuit. Instead, every difficulty became a ladder that helped him move upward. Why? Because he transformed all of those experiences into nourishment for life itself. Under that nourishment, his inner world became stronger day by day. He also says that he was never someone skilled at managing relationships nor interested in doing many things that clever people often enjoy doing. Yet in his life, several benefactors appeared, people who selflessly offered him real help. For that, he remains deeply grateful. Xuemo often speaks about his very calmly, of this very calmly, without trying to turn suffering into something dramatic or heroic. And I remembered in his biography, he mentioned that he don't have shoes to wear in the freezing cold winter. Before I came to Western China, I never realized how cold it is in Western China, in the West. There is a word. There is a word that cold into the bones. So I know that word from my childhood when I was in school, but I never experienced that because in South China the winter is also very cold. But yes, it is freezing cold. But until I came to Western China, I found that cold is so different. There's so many different levels of cold that some cold can stay in your bones. In South China, I think the most freezing cold night, you stay in there for the whole night, and you will just wow how cold, and you get cold. You may need to take a rest and take some medicine, and then you recovered several days later. And in Western China, the cold is really the cold will take. I think it will take take away your life. So, and the cold will stay and hide in your bones, in every bone, in yes, in these bones, and you will feel hurt every night. While it is such a suffering, the Western. And I'm in a very nice condition because I have very warm clothes. Yeah, what is a good life according to me? What is a good life? I think a good life, first, the basic is a healthy body. You are healthy, yeah. First, you are healthy, physically healthy, then you are mentally healthy, and then you can afford yourself for basic living. And after that, you can pursue some higher things in your life, which is it looks it doesn't benefit to yourself, but to do good things to the society, to the human beings, not for yourself. That and focus on what you are doing. Make your life simple, so you can focus. You can focus on what is really important. Oh, she's busy with the classes here in Xuemo Academy these days. She is the busiest one these days because she is the one who is managing all the things for this like 9 days here. Hello, Lone Wolf. Can you give the question from Lone Wolf? Can you give me little love advice? What do you mean by love advice? Can you? Hi, Coach. Good day. Good day. Love advice. I think the petty love, like I love you, you love me. Between men and women, they are like we are call it small love or petty love. These are emotions and about hormones, and it will finally disappear. So actually, there is a way, and you can choose to transcend the small love to great love. Fine, great love. Oh, tell me how to impress you. I'm not interested. Thank you. But you can subscribe to our channel, and I would recommend if you're interested in this love topic. Actually, Xuemo's works are all about love and wisdom. So you can read Xuemo's works, and they are available on Amazon. You can search for Xuemo, Xuemo, Xuemo for his book. And if you are interested in the literature about love, you can search for his book, Love Letters from the Goddess. It is available, I think, in e-book edition. Yeah, TGR, thank you for your answer. This is exactly what I'm going to say. I'm not impressed with anyone. Yeah, we are not interested in that. Otherwise, I'm not come here to do this. To do this. Yeah, this word. Yes, you can buy it from internet. Go to Amazon and check Xuemo. Xuemo, Xuemo. Xuemo.今天有一位读者是对爱这个话题感兴趣，我说他今天有位读者问这个 Love Letters from the Goddess 沙瓦蒂的情书是否在网上可以买得到？我推荐他去亚马逊购买。Okay, yeah. He's busy with the classes. He's having classes all day long for these 9 days. So Wendy is also busy because she has to manage all the things. I'm also busy, but I will, I am the only person that need very little sleeping. They all need a rest after lunch, and maybe they need longer sleeping time. But for me, I only need very little sleeping, so I can still insist on doing the live stream, but they cannot. I'm very energetic. Yes. But really, she hasn't stopped his live stream in China channel, the local channel, because there are a lot of purchases and orders in that live stream. For the YouTube channel, we are only at the beginning of doing the live stream. Yeah, you know that, TJR. So a sincere heart remembers deeply the kindness it has received, and perhaps that gratitude itself becomes another source of strength in a person's destiny. Xuemo understands very clearly if he had been selfish, arrogant, or unwilling to grow, then those opportunities would naturally have gone to someone more worthy of receiving them. That is why he always tells his students, there is no failure, there is only giving up. Because although many factors determine whether something succeeds, if you continue without giving up, and if your direction is correct, one day you will reach your destination. Failure itself is not frightening. What is truly frightening is abandonment. Because once a person gives up, it means the heart has already begun to waver. And when the heart wavers, all previous perseverance loses its meaning. Every obstacle suddenly appears stronger than before. A person may completely lose direction, and then day after day, repeat the same mechanical life until precious life is quite exhausted. Teacher's message, I will wait for the month of July because I will go to Singapore in July. I will meet my brother and I will meet Xuemo and Wendy. Wow, glad to hear that. Take pictures, remember to take pictures and leave you know, memory, a good memory. I think Wendy will also share the picture with me. Yes, good to hear that. And before that, TGR, it's better you read some books. Yes, he'll be very happy to hear that you have the new friends here have started reading Xuemo's works. And opportunities are not something a person is automatically entitled to receive. If you have been arrogant, selfish, unwilling to reflect, or unwilling to grow, then naturally many of those opportunities would have passed to someone else. Because life is always responding to the quality of a person's inner state. A sincere heart can carry responsibility. A humble person can continue learning. Why don't you read yourself? A humble person can continue learning. A person with aspiration can endure difficulty longer than others. And over time, these invisible qualities begin opening paths that force long cannot open. This is why Xuemo often tells his students, there is no failure, there is only giving up. This does not mean that every effort immediately produces success. Reality is still influenced by timing, conditions, ability, environment, and countless external factors. Sometimes a person works sincerely and still encounters setbacks. Sometimes progress is painfully slow. But Xuemo's point is deeper than temporary result. As long as a person has not abandoned the path, the possibility remains alive. As long as the heart still carries aspiration, life can still move forward. Many people are not defeated by difficulty itself. They are defeated by inner collapse. I think so. Defeat by inner collapse. At first, they start believing effort matters. Then they begin doubting their direction. After that, enthusiasm enthusiasm fades, perseverance weakens, and eventually the heart quietly gives up long before the body stops moving. So that is why Xuemo says true danger is not failure, but abandonment. Because once the heart begins wavering, every obstacle suddenly appears larger than before. The same hardship that once could be endured now feels unbearable. The same path that once felt meaningful begins feeling empty. And gradually, a person may lose connection with the deeper purpose of life itself. Then life becomes mechanical. Wake up, work, consume distractions, sleep, repeat. And thus, precious life has been quietly consumed by habit, fear, and unconscious repetition. So this is why aspiration is so important in Xuemo's teachings. Aspiration gives direction to suffering. It gives meaning to perseverance, and it prevents the soul from sinking completely into numbness and forgetfulness. Okay, and these are for my live session today. Thank you for your companion. Thank you. Bye for now. See you later today.